This is the one that takes time to undo. One, it takes strong leadership. T-Bone, I'm doing sedation cases, but they're sprinkled all over my schedule and it's creating chaos. How do you actually structure a sedation day? I'm going to work a second column, then that second column turns into an unplanned third column because now you got dentistry here, you got an emergency, they put that in the third column. Welcome back to another week and another episode of the Dentistry Made Simple podcast. I'm your amazing host, Dr. Tarun T-Bone Agarwal, and this week we're going to answer some questions that we've gotten from many of you as listeners. So stay tuned. It's going to be an amazing episode with lots of, honestly, great questions because they're coming directly from you. Now, if you'd like to send some questions, or if you'd like to be interviewed on the podcast to talk about things going on in your practice, to do a coaching session, just reach out to me. I'd love to do that. Let's get going with this week's first question. And this was sent in. T-Bone, I keep hearing about block scheduling, but every time I try to implement it, my front desk pushes back and it falls apart. What am I missing? And honestly, you're not really missing much, okay? And really what it is my guess, based on having coached hundreds and thousands of dentists on this, is that you're trying to make it perfect from day one. And that's where it really falls apart. What I would tell you to do and where I coach people is let's start with one day. Let's make it an easy day. Let's make it a big case day or a specific procedure type of day or, a specific day of the week that you want to be a more calm day, and start there. Instead of trying to kind of take things and do them a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, you create confusion, you create all kinds of stuff for your team, and they're just not ready to get it all. You got to remember, look, your team members are there to fight for you, not against you. And sometimes when they fight for you, it seems like they're fighting against you. And they're doing it because their habits say they want to do it this way. This is how it's always been. They're not saying we don't want to do it. They're really kind of telling you you're trying to do it in a way that doesn't make sense to us, or that's too much, too fast. So there's these things called good ideas, wrong timing. Block scheduling, priority scheduling is never a wrong idea. It's just a matter of how well you want to implement it. Are you a strong leader where you're present in the practice and you're going to make sure it happens? Then you can go all in. I still don't encourage that. Even when we coach our mastermind dentists, when they're first starting, we don't encourage you go all in. In fact, we encourage you to take a stair-step approach to this. So to me, the best way to start with priority scheduling is first, number one, block new patient visits on your hygiene schedule. Too many of us are not capitalizing on the number of new patients we can potentially see in our practice because we're overrun with recall. Number two, block a 3 or a 4 hour single patient visit once a week on your schedule. Get your team, get yourself focused once a week on doing a quote unquote bigger case. Now remember, a bigger case isn't always fancy dentistry. A bigger case, in most cases, is just a lot of general dentistry at one time on a patient. For some of you, a bigger case could be a sedation. For some of you, a bigger case could be a couple of 3 crowns. Some of it could be a root canal buildup crown and a couple of fillings. You don't think of big cases as fancy dentistry always. Think of big cases as 3 or 4 hours on a single patient doing highly productive work. That's really what bigger cases or the 3 or 4 hour visit when we get started is all about. So hopefully that helps you understand that honestly, it's probably not that it doesn't work. It's probably not that your team is really fighting you. It's really likely that you're trying to do too much at one time. And I want to add one more thing. Let's pretend you say, well, I'm trying to do it slow and steady. Then really what it boils down to is you're not holding accountability. And that's really where leadership comes in. That's where you're telling team members, hey, this is important to me. You, as the owner of the practice, owner of your operatory, are going to hold the line and say, you know what? This is not where this is supposed to be. Let's call and change this patient. Oh, but that's inconvenient. I totally get it. It is inconvenient. But this time, every Monday at 8 o'clock is supposed to be my 3-hour patient. You guys broke the rules, so now you can fix it. All it takes is a few times of doing that, and things will start getting better. I also talk about the 1-7-30, the 1-1-1, which is 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. Every day you look out at your schedule, 1 day, 1 month, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month out, and you take a look at your schedule and you coach on what's not looking right. 1 day out, not much you can do about it. That's tomorrow. 1 week out, your schedule should have some holes. The schedule, should be pretty close to ideal because you're not breaking blocks 1 week out. And 1 month out, honestly, your schedule should be mostly a blank canvas. Lots of opportunity and lots of nothing that's out of place there. So those are the kind of things from a leadership and accountability and from an implementation perspective that I would encourage you to do. Here's kind of a similar question. Hey, great question. Honestly, early in my career, I used to do my first sedations on my day off. For me, that was Friday mornings. So I would do my sedation cases on Friday morning once a month. I was new to sedation. I just wanted to get my legs underneath me. I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. I didn't want the pressure of hygiene checks. I didn't want any of those things getting in the way. So I would do them on Fridays, my quote unquote day off. Then I transitioned to once I was comfortable, once sedation wasn't an event for me, once I was pretty comfortable with it, then we moved sedation to Thursday mornings. So that would be, hey, now I'm going to do sedations on Thursday morning. And then kind of the next step for me was, you know what? We fight this urge that we want to do sedation every single day. And until we get to a volume level, I don't encourage that. I encourage us having sedation days. So in other words, then I moved to Thursday was my sedation day. I had a sedation patient in the morning, I had a sedation patient in the afternoon. Now, I know some of you like my sedation patients, they're not eating, they're not doing this. How do I make do they handle it? Maybe you're diabetics, maybe patients on high medications, things like that. Maybe those are the ones you schedule in the morning and you push them out a week or two. That's totally okay. But the ones, they can go another 4 or 5 hours and not eat. It's not that big of a deal. We're not seeing it a big of a deal. And we're doing lots of sedation where our last case starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and these patients aren't eating from midnight before. It's okay. Honestly, some of them probably use it. Okay. For those of you that have done intermittent fasting, it's some of the best days that you felt is when you don't eat as much or eat as often. That's kind of my take on sedation. And then again, once you get comfortable with that, hey, I'm doing a sedation day, my suggestion is you just start booking out a little bit farther. Some of us, we get uncomfortable booking out very far. And then before I start adding sedation here and there, I always look at as a morning or an afternoon, a specific time slot, go to a full day, and then kind of start adding from there. So hopefully that's kind of helpful for you there as well. Here's a great one. My schedule looks full, but my collections don't match. Full schedule, disappointing month. What's going on and where do I look first? I'm going to put my phone down for this one because this can be a lot of different things. Okay. So I've had this happen. Full schedule, disappointing month. In fact, the month of May 2026 is going to be a full schedule for me, and it's going to be productive, but not a normal productive month for me. And here's why. And this is one of the reasons why. In my particular case, towards the end of 2025, we were starting to push out cases. We were telling patients that, hey, he's not doing this type of dentistry right now. We need to push that out. And then the team was pushing that out, and they just suddenly all happened to land on May. Or some of the things that happened, we would break a block because something didn't go perfectly and we needed to work a patient in. We would call a patient, they would be very comfortable. Since we broke their block, then we broke another block, and that all happened to fall into May. So these are a culmination of breaking blocks, pushing things out, and they all fall on a single month. And it's a busy month, but it's unproductive. I see that quite a bit, especially in our offices that are doing priority scheduling well. They're pushing things out. But at some point, you can't push things out but so far before, I don't know the American saying, but the piper comes to pay or the payer comes. Something like that. I hope you understand what I'm talking about there. So that's one thing. The other thing is if you have a busy schedule and you're not productive and this is consistent, that usually tells me it's a procedure mix issue. And that what I mean by that is you're doing lots of dentistry that has to be done. I totally get it, but it doesn't pay the bills. Maybe you have lots of single crowns, you're just seeing lots of volume of patients. And at some point in time, it catches up with you. You can't, and then this is the thing that brings us into the kind of gets created. And this is the one that takes, I don't want to say it's the hard one. This is the one that takes time to undo. One, it takes strong leadership. And what I mean by leadership, willpower, discipline. it takes strong discipline and willpower to get past it. Two, it also requires a change in how you treatment plan and present cases to patients. I will go to my grave betting that most of you that say my patients don't want to do lots of dentistry, you're just not giving them the choice. Or you're not understanding that it needs to be 5 or 10% of your patients that say, yes, I want to do all my general dentistry in one visit. That is game changing when you can do that. Or the other part of this is some of you may need a clinical mix change. In other words, you're a one or two trick pony. You're drill, fill, bill, Dr. DFB. Again, you can make a great living doing that, but you're not going to get wealthy doing that. You're not going to really thrive in the economic environment of cost pressures that we're facing. You got to go out and learn how to do dentistry. You got to learn extraction grafting. You got to learn single tooth implant placements. You got to learn clear aligners. You got to learn sleep apnea. Honestly, you got to learn the things that we do at 3D Dentists. It's the reason we do these things is because it's what worked in my office. And we try to teach what works in our office. So I want you to learn how to do that because those little things go from doing a filling and the time that it takes you to do an occlusal filling, I can place an implant. And sure, you're like, oh, but that's only one or two a month. One or two a month is an extra $2,000-$3,000 each per month. And you multiply that by one or two procedures like that, suddenly you go $5,000-$10,000 up. And I know $5,000 or $10,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but it should sound like a lot because the vast majority of you listening, that $5,000-$10,000, it's 50% margin, because you're already paying your overhead. So, I've kind of digressed from there, but to answer the question, my schedule looks full, but my collections don't match. That comes from one, you're pushing things out and you're allowing them to collect up. I saw this happen early in my life when I was started to push out fillings. My team, I'd be like, just schedule the fillings farther out, and they'd put them all in one day. And I'd come in one day and be like, all fillings. Like, how did this happen? Well, you told us to push them out. I go, yeah, but don't push them out all into one day. Push them farther out. This is very difficult for team members because they're getting the pressure from the patient. You, as the dentist, don't, or some of you do, but they're getting the pressure from the patient. Like, why is it taking so long? They'll make, secondhand comments like, oh, I guess I'm not that important, and things like that. And it takes time, it takes discipline, it takes thick skin to get over that. But I promise you, you do get over that. All right, let's got time for a couple of more. T-Bone. I have over 100K sitting in accounts receivable that's 90 days or older. Is that normal? What do I do with it? Okay, so is that normal? Probably not. Okay, because here's the truth. I will tell you that there shouldn't be a lot in 90 days accounts receivable. One, the philosophy that I follow, that we teach, is that insurance balances should never get to 90 days. You filed a claim, within 30 days, you should get your first response. Worst case scenario, they deny it, XYZ, you submit it again. Within 60 days, you should have your second response. Then at that point, I teach you transfer that patient to the balance. Okay. I will try with the insurance company twice, but after that, it's something we can't do. Okay. And there's very few things that insurance companies can't respond to within a couple of weeks. And honestly, a couple of filings with good information should take care of it. So this whole thing of I'll try over and over again, and our team has such a hard time with this. Patients will say, well, I don't understand why my insurance didn't pay. And they'll be like, well, let's try filing it again. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why are you lying to the patient and to yourself? There's nothing we're going to do the second or third time that's different than the first time, unless you have a moron doing insurance billing. Just let the patient know it's not going to pay. This is what it is. Okay. And they can choose to pay the bill, or they can choose that they're unhappy with your practice. And that's part of life. Now, when it comes to patient balances, this is another area. It really shouldn't get to 90 days. And this is why I'm such a hard line about the firm financial arrangements, our financial menu. Too many of these cases, too many of the 90-day balances are from confusion from the patient not understanding, or the patient not signing things, or us not being clear that insurance is an estimate. Okay, so again, should you have some in 90 days? Absolutely. Okay, but if it's significant, then there's a process, a root cause that's not going as well as we'd like. So the last thing kind of, is this normal on the 100K part? Honestly, it depends. Look, if you're doing $300,000-$400,000 a month, 100K is not that bad. If you're doing 100K a month and 100,000 of it's 90 days and over, that's not great. And the last thing I want to say about your 90-day plus balances, and let's move it to, because honestly, most of the softwares end at 90 plus. It could be 3 years old, so at some point, it's time to write off the bad debt. It's time to get it off your books, which your team and you are using as an excuse. Oh, that's old balances. And what happens is just new things are piling onto it. And we just keep writing it off mentally because it's an old balance, because it's so messy. So get it clean, okay? Get everything clean. All right, let me see. I want to do one more. I did 189K in production last month, a record, but I still feel broke. What am I not understanding about my own numbers? A couple of things come to mind. One, it could be just a feeling. Okay, it's a feeling because you don't have control or insight into what's actually happening. And God, I could go on a diatribe about this one. It's about getting your books clean. It's about using a bucket system to where your money goes into one account, your bills get paid out of another account. And part of it's also understanding that honestly, you may have a great month this month, but you're paying bills from last month, or your patient's prepaid. A lot of our best months come from prepayments. And so we rob Peter to pay Paul. Last month, somebody paid last month for this month. And then your lab bill comes due after you do the dentistry. So, hey, I got paid in January. I did the work in February. I've already spent the money from January, but now I'm paying for the lab work on these cases in March. So that's kind of where a lot of this comes from. And one of the things that I've loved about my switch to my new practice management system, it's been a year and a half now, we moved to CareStack, is they have what's called unapplied credits. We don't actually put the collections onto the patient until we actually do the dentistry. Now, it is in my bank account, but the good news is since I put all my deposits into one account and only deposits in there, and then I transfer a set amount of money over to my operations account every single month, that kind of keeps things clean for me, or cleaner for me. It allows me to cash flow and cash balance a little bit better. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to everybody. Look, I love answering your questions. If you find this podcast useful, subscribe, share it, send me a question, send me a DM, send me an email, go to our website, let me know how I can help you, because honestly, one of the reasons I lose track and kind of get off track in producing the podcast is I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again. But when you give me questions, I do great. Another thing I want to talk about is once a month, we're going to start doing a live call in show where one of you can get a coaching session. Don't worry, I'll be T-Bone 3.0. I'll be very kind and generous and really helpful, but I'll always be honest. That I can't help but be that. And I would love to coach you. This is open to anyone, not just mastermind members, but anyone who wants to get some coaching and advice. And at the end of the day, look, I've been doing this 27 years. I built a $4 million dental practice. I helped others build 4, 5, 6, 7, $8 million offices. We've done this hundreds and thousands of times. It's one thing to do it yourself. It's another thing to be able to do it, help others do it, and help others do it multiple times. And we've learned how to do this. Okay. So I would love for you to submit yourself to be on our call-in show. So just reach out to me. You can DM me on InstaFamous, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You can send me an email. Those of you that have my cell phone number, you can text me. I would love to get on the call with you and record a podcast. So again, thank you very much, and I will see you guys hopefully next week.